guys, Tiffany here with our very first cosplay tool spotlight. And we're gonna start off by talking about one of the most used tools for making cosplays, and that is a heat gun. You might be asking, what is a heat gun? Well, a heat gun is a gun that produces heat. And there are a bunch of different types, but typically they're all pretty much the same, where they have an on switch that goes to a medium heat and then a high heat. And for working with materials such as EVA foam and Worbla, you'll typically work in the medium heat setting. Now, what is a heat gun used for? The two most common uses for the heat gun is for the materials EVA foam, which you'll be using to heat treat your foam and to shape it into different forms, as well as Worbla. Same process of heating up the thermoplastic so that way it becomes soft and you can move it and mold it into different shapes, and then it'll cool off and harden into that new shape that you've made. And while I explain some more info about the heat gun, here is some of my work in progress pictures while I was using it. For safety with the heat gun, you'll need to keep this away from children and your critters, especially when you turn it off. The metal tip at the end will still stay hot, as well as your hands themselves when you're using a heat gun. You will typically want to either use some heat resistant gloves or have a little stick that can hold your piece that you're working on so you don't burn your hands. Other safety related things would be, depending on the material that you're heating up, may cause a smell. So in certain cases, you may want to wear a respirator, but otherwise the heat gun's pretty safe. One thing to be aware of when using a heat gun though, to remember that the surface or the table underneath your piece is also being heated up. So you want to avoid using a heat gun on top of a cutting mat or any type of plastics, because it's also going to heat up and create bubbles, and that's bad. For purchasing a heat gun, I have a link to a recommended one in the description, and any cheap one will work as well. And that's pretty much it for going over our cosplay tool spotlight of the heat gun. What cosplay tool should I do a spotlight on next? Let me know in the comments, and like the video and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you for our next one. Much love, guys!